All right. Hey, my friends. And so this week I got a special episode. Last week I did a full live training where I talked about really some essential things that you need to incorporate in your journey to recovery to really be successful in OCD and anxiety recovery. And just got some great feedback. And there were some really powerful parts of the training. And so specifically today, I want to take a little segment of the training and share it with you as part of this episode. And so that'll be happening right after this. And if you want the full training, I'm actually making that available for free. And so there's a link right down in the notes where you can click on and get access to that as well. And so with that, I hope you enjoy the episode and wish you guys a great week. And so that's the concept of flooding and all of that stuff. So, and this can be effective for some people temporarily, but as you're going to see, all that happens is the fear is going to shift to a different theme, right? This is why, how many of you guys have seen that your theme changes over time? Because what real ERP should be about is about confronting the energy of fear in you, not what you're projecting it onto, you know? And if you are fighting the projection all the time, you are going to lose because even if you desensitize that projection, it's just going to shift to something else. And this is another, myth of why people say OCD is chronic because they say, well, we did this desensitization and they no longer fear that theme, but then it just changed. So it's this chronic condition. And you're going to see here, you're going to see everyone that I don't believe that. And I'm going to make a very strong case as to why. But so that's kind of like, if you're here with me so far, I get you, right? I wanted to share all that because like I understand if you've been on that journey that I was just sharing, that was like years of my life, and it wasn't until I learned and made the shifts that I'm about to share here that like when you make these shifts, everything really does change. And when you really get this and you really implement it and you actually have the shift from information to actually experiential knowledge, that is what creates transformation in your life. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I help people do every day. Again, if you're interested in potentially, working together, all that stuff, all you need to go is to Restored Minds, TBC, and then apply, right? It's free. You can fill out an app. And then, so this is like what we do. So this is probably the most important thing. This is one of the most important things that I'm going to teach you today. I mean, transparently, I'm a little passionate about everything, so I feel like everything's important, right? So people sending me questions, just like, let's hold off on questions to the end. I'm not going to answer questions mid-presentation. So, okay, so let's kind of, I want to break this down for you and I want to like understand. So first we're going to start over here on this little box. What this is on the left here is ways of conceptualizing this entire chart here, right? So you can, and each one corresponds. So it's like parasympathetic nervous system or sympathetic nervous system, right? Your sympathetic nervous system is fight or flight, parasympathetic is rest and digest, and your nervous system, when it's in these states, you're going to feel totally different, right? Then there's like, again, the ego, right? The higher self. There's when you're feeling contracted, where you're feeling expanded. There's when you're destructive, when you're creative. There's force, there's power, there's hell, there's heaven, there's fear, there's love. You can literally compartment, like whatever aligns with you is how you should conceptualize this, right? So, and really what you have to understand is what this is our levels of energy, our levels of consciousness, our experience as humans, right? So, because when you understand that we have these different experiences, and you're able to understand that this is like a big thermometer, right? So let's focus on this right here, this energetic frequency, right? And don't worry if that word bothers you. It's just really think about like how much access to energy you have, right, in your body. Because at the end of the day, like everything's energy. So if you don't believe in energy, then I don't know what to say to you, honestly. Yeah, that's going to be a hard one for me to try to help you overcome that. But the amount of energy we have is really what this is measuring. And so when you're in a really, really low state, like shame or depression, right? You don't feel like you have energy, right? Most people who, again, have lived in fear or anxiety, right? What happens is they eventually drop into feelings of despair, humiliation, right? By being in this state long enough, you'll usually drop down into lower energy states. And so how many of you guys have been in like states of depression where you're like, hey, look, like I can't, it's like hard for me to get out of bed, right? And then you take that same person and they all of a sudden are in love, 3 months later, and they're like in this state up here, and they are like getting out of bed. They're like, hey, I couldn't even sleep last night. I was so sad. And then they move about their day and all this, where you take someone here and they sleep, 10 hours and they still feel tired and all this stuff, because what you understand is your energy state has very little to do actually with, um, with your outside environment in that sense, right? It's like, it's not about the idea that sleep doesn't give you energy, so to speak, right? Because you can make arguments and cases. And this is the same thing here. And I want to validate some stuff real quick. How many guys have gone to, like, because most people who have struggled with OCD and anxiety have gone to the medical doctors, right? And they've been like, hey, dude, like I'm really struggling. I feel like, you'll say, like, I feel this state here, right? And the doctor will do their workup on you and say, well, you're healthy, right? And you're like, well, no, I'm not, right? Because I know what healthy feels like, and this ain't it. But they say, like, there's nothing wrong with you, because our medical system, especially in Western medicine, like, fails to really acknowledge this idea of energy and integrate it into the practice, right? So when you understand these different levels that we can experience, right, it's like shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, right? These are the lower states consistent with these kind of, with the ego feeling contracted, feeling like you end up engaging in destructive behaviors. And really, you could separate this chart from, like, how much fear are you operating from, or how much love are you operating from, right? You could really simplify the chart like that if you wanted to. But in the higher states, what happens is you get into states of courage, neutrality, willingness, reason, love, joy, peace. And in enlightenment, I don't pretend to know what enlightenment is. I could care less about enlightenment. It's not my objective. And I'm not here to talk about that concept. It's just more in the higher states, like, that's what that is, right? So each state, right, has a certain energy level that you have capacity to, right? So when you're in shame, you have very little energy that you have to navigate life. Same with fear, right? Notice fear is very low down here, 100 out of 1,000. So this goes to 1 to 1,000, by the way. And then if you move up into, higher states here, you have much more energy to access, right? So what happens with most people, right? So what happens with most people is that they usually are in these higher states up here, and they drop down into fear, again, anxiety, and they feel frightened. And again, you're in these kind of states here where you're in either inaction or hyperactivity. And what happens is the each energy state, right, as you're going to see, creates thoughts. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com, as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.